So I went ahead and identified what the constant was and the factors of the constant. That will always go in the numerator for the rational root theorem. And then I'm going to use the leading coefficient of 12 and list all of the factors of 12. So how do we come up with these? So it's 1 over 1, both positive and negative, 7 over 1, both positive and negative, and then I'm just going to move forward into the next number in the denominator. So 1 over 2, 7 over 2, both always positive and negative, 1 over 3, 7 over 3, and you can catch on. Now, here's the daunting task. If these don't work, which I'm going to press pause and go back and check, then I have to start checking the fractions. And if you've watched the previous videos, you know that without having a calculator, this takes a long time. Okay, well that took a lot of time, but I went and tested these 4 integers, none worked. Tested 1/2 and negative 1/2, did not work. 7/2 did not work. So I was just able to get negative 7/2 to work. Let me roll through this with you right now. Okay, so I'm going to D-mama, drop down the first number, and then mama is multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, until I come up with a final output. Remember, I'm looking for an output of 0 to show me that it is a solution. Okay, so I'm going to take negative 7 times 12, and I get a negative 84. I divide it by 2. I end up with a negative 42. Now, 68 and 42 are different signs, so I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. Next, I'm going to take negative 7 times 26, and that's negative 182 divided by 2 to get a negative 91. Now, 91 and 75 are different signs. I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. This time when I multiply, 2 negatives multiply to give me a positive. So 16 times 7 is 112 divided by 2 is 56. Different signs subtract. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. Negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. And finally, I have a second solution, or a first solution to this. One. So I'm going to come up here. I know one solution is negative 7/2. Okay, let me write this down. So I have 0 equals 2, no x's, negative 16, 1x, 26, 2x's, and 12, 3x's. And now I'm looking at this, I'm analyzing, and I can already tell this is not going to work by factoring by grouping. Notice how it's small and then it goes large, and this doesn't even go small and large. So that pattern of factoring something out will not work for both. So what do we do next? I know that if I have 4 real roots, which I've already been told in this lesson, so we haven't even learned about complex roots, I know all 4 are going to come from this. And so I have tested, and I know that this one works. So I'm going to try 1/3, negative 1/3, and keep going here. I could get the same thing here again by writing down what are the multiples of 2 divided by the multiples of 12, and so on. Okay, and then making sure we cancel out anyone that we've already tested that didn't work. Okay, so let's start by trying 1/3. Let me move this. Okay, again, I've tested all these. No, this works. I'm going to try 1/3, negative 1/3, and just keep rolling with it. All right, so I have 12x to the third, 26x squared, negative 16x to the first, and 2x to the 0. And I'm looking for an output value of 0. I better use pencil so I can erase this. We're going to start with 1/3. So I'm dividing everything by 3 when I'm multiplying. Drop down, D-mama. So when I multiply, you can go 1 times 12 is 12 and then divide it by 3. But even easier is just take this value and divide it by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Combined to give us 30. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Combined to give us negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 3, is negative 2. And this works. Hey, we're lucky. So 1/3 works out. So x equals 1/3 is another. So I have 2 of the 4. Now, how can this part help me? So 12, 30, negative 6 equals 0. This is no x's. This is no x's. So x to the 0 if you want to write that. X to the first and x to the second. So 12x squared plus 30x minus 6 equals 0. And I can see that each one of these is divisible by 6. So let's factor out to 6. 2x squared plus 5x minus 1 equals 0. I attempt to factor, and I can see there's no two numbers that multiply to give us negative 2 and combine to give us 5. So what do we do at this point? Well, when it's not factorable and we're working with a quadratic, equation, we're going to go back to the quadratic formula. So I'm going to make some room here. I have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Negative 5 plus or minus 25. Now negative 4 times 2 times negative 1 is a positive 8, all divided by 4. X equals negative 5 plus or minus, what are we going to go up to? 33, which cannot be broken down using perfect squares, divided by 4. So this is my other two remaining solutions. So here's two solutions, one time when you add, one time when you subtract, and then the first solutions that we found out of negative 7/2 and a positive 1/3.